In our last video blog, we mentioned that we are going to propose a series of these as discussion pieces to review the tax reform discussion in Washington and really what impact it has on the real estate community. So the subject today is, what is the real impact for real estate investors? We were narrowly focused on the 1031 exchange piece and the discussion that it's gone from a possibility of repeal to, I think, a probability, and here's why. When we look at the 1031 provisions as a piece of the puzzle and not the whole puzzle, admittedly from a real estate perspective, if you are a QI or a title company or a real estate broker who is transaction oriented, the net result of the 1031 provisions being repealed would have a pretty dramatic impact on the pipeline, no question about it. But if we look at the 1031 provisions in the context of the overall conversation that they're having in Washington, and frankly what we all see on the news every night, we have to acknowledge that there was an assumption, a reasonable assumption, that the Ways and Means Committee would be able to redeploy about $800 billion from the healthcare reform, which at least as of this moment on August 1st ain't happening. So as a result, there's a new imperative to seek out new sources for revenue. The quick overview is that there are three versions of this story. One is the Camp proposal, as it's being referred to at the Ways and Means Committee. Dave Camp was the former chairman, and he was focused on corporate tax reform as well as a number of other provisions. The second is the House proposal from Paul Ryan and Kevin Brady, and theirs is sort of a middle road. And then the third is the Trump administration proposal. And again, depending on how you are reading the political tea leaves as we turn on the news every night, I think there's going to be a real imperative to produce some results here in the next 75 days. The suggestion from Treasury Secretary Mnuchin is that they really expect to have a tax reform proposal by the middle of the fall. So, what does that mean if you're in the real estate business? Well, there are a range of provisions that have an impact, but specifically the discussion of the interest rate deduction and the full expensing of the depreciation are worth touching on in context with any conversation about repeal of 1031. And we'll pick this up in our next review. I mentioned in our earlier discussion that it might be worth your time and resources to go to the Jeremiah Long 1031 Advanced Seminar this year, which Lou Weller and Mary Foster are having in, I think it's the first week of November in Scottsdale. We'll add a link to our presentation here, and it's worth checking out. It's probably the best source of information that's available in the tax and real estate community. Thanks very much for your time, and please look forward to our next video.